welcome. It's season 13's final round at Imola for Tier 6. Coming up will be a 60-minute race with very variable weather. There's a good chance of rain, certainly in the practice races. And there was a fairly heavy downpour for at least half the race, which personally I'm hoping for. It'll give me a good chance of getting a decent result. Well, before we get into that, let's have a look at the current position of the Drivers' Championship going into this round. McKinley has sewn up the Drivers' Championship very early on. He's had, so far out of 6 rounds, 3 wins, a second place, a fourth. And it would have been a fourth win as well if not for a disconnect at Snetterton, but he's now 156 points clear of his closest rival. And as it's only 100 points for a win, there's no chance of anybody overtaking him. He's taken the Drivers' Championship. I don't feel there's been much of a competition for him this season. He's been well clear of the rest of the field. Usually does well in qualifying and certainly drove away from everybody in most of the rounds. So a bit perhaps of a hollow victory for McKinley for Celtic Romance to take away this championship. I do feel he may have had more of a competition in a slightly higher tier. Thomas McCready though is in second place. He's got 311 points, just 7 points clear of myself, Steve Bezic for Beeswax Racing, who's in third place. Masej Karaziak dropped down 2 places at Snetterton. He's in fourth place with 300 points. Simon Carson moved up at Snetterton. He's in fifth place with 295 points. And Jesse Halen is in sixth place, in non-mover from Snetterton, with 281 points. So it's wide open for second place in the championship from currently P2 all the way down to P6. McCready, Beeswax, Karaziak, Carson and Halen all in with a chance to move up and down the table. So it's by no means over in this final round. Artem Rashodko has not appeared for the last 2 rounds. I understand he won't be making it to this round either. So he's really dropped down out of the championship. He was the only driver giving McKinley any sort of competition for the longest time. But once he dropped out following Spa, has just tumbled away down the table. Paul Martin for Gently Bentley Racing, he's in 8th position at the moment, had a very good result at Snetterton with a 3rd place, but with 251 points is probably a little bit too far away to really get onto the podium for the championship. His teammate Manuel Duque for Gently Bentley Racing, he's 47 points behind him with 204 points. He's in 9th, and Lord Nem for Beeswax Racing hangs on to 10th position in the championship, 189 points. He needs a good result today, both for the team's championship and for himself. Looking at the team's championship going into this round, Celtic Bromance have a 150 point lead. It's not impossible for Steve Bezic and Lord Nem for Beeswax Racing to catch McKinley and Carey for Celtic Bromance, but it will be a tall order. McKinley usually drives away from the front of the field and wins the race, gets 100 points. So it's going to be almost impossible for Beeswax to topple Celtic Bromance. What we really need to be doing is looking over our shoulder at Gently Bentley Racing. Paul Martin and Manuel Duque are only 38 points behind us. So everybody has got to do well in both teams to be able to keep ahead or take that second place for Gently Bentley. Amino, Assetto, Motor Hersteller are in 4th place. Furkan Hosman and Berke Aras. Berke Aras appears to have disappeared from the league, leaving Furkan on his own. And he's struggling there to make the points difference. So there's a massive gap between him, Gently Bentley, which is insurmountable. What Furkan probably really wants to focus on, keeping Fuzzy Lamas behind, 78 points difference. Viking Rap and Stuart Pietzke are in 5th place in the team's championship, but could get into 4th if they have a good result today. Manuel Rutter Racing Academy are no longer racing with us, so these points hang on from earlier rounds. Philip Reuter and Jonathan Colmwald have 72 points. So Hexagon Nation, Chris Jenkins and Tobias Hackinson, if they can just get a few more points, they'll move off the bottom of the team's championship table. But we'll wait to see what will happen. Let's check out what did happen in the final round of season 13 at Imola, coming up now. Do you join us as the drivers line up for the start of the final round of season 13 of the GT3 Championship here with Apex Online Racing's Tier 6. Stuart Pietzke qualified on pole, Carson second, McKinley for once not on pole is in third. Karaziak currently 4th in the Drivers' Championship, he qualified in 4th. Filip Śmizak was 5th, and myself, Steve Bezic for Beeswax Racing, currently 3rd in the Drivers' Championship. I qualified in 6th. Jesse Halen 7th, and Viking Rap in 8th. McCready outside the top 10, currently 2nd in the championship, but not there at the front of the pack for the start of the race. And they're waiting for the lights to go green, and it's a green flag and they're away. Pizka comes very close to Carson already before even turn 1. Bit of cars moving around in the background, going 3 wide there with Lord Nem. Jumped back down the field a little bit. Everybody seems to be through. Oh no, Karasiak off the track there. So Karasiak did qualify in 4th, but goes off the track just in the first time through Tamburello, and he's dropped right down the pack. So he's his championship efforts already under threat there, coming into this round in 4th place, 300 points. So it's all very close, and there's a bump there up ahead, and that looks like McCready spun round, looked like he was hitting the rear by Becchia, and McCready, who is just in 2nd place in the championship, now drops to the back of the field. So it's all happening for the championship hopefuls already on lap 1. Meanwhile, McKinley is through. It looks to be in 2nd place, or is Carson? Carson has got past Pizka with all that confusion going on at the start there. So Carson is away out front. Pizka is in 2nd place as they go through Verriere Alta for the first time. McKinley tucked up behind him, and there's a little gap down to Schmijak in 4th place. Halen has got through on Beeswax Racing, it's just passing now. The Ferrari is trying to come back as they go through to Rivazza, but thinks better of it. Viking Rap now tucked up behind Beeswax. Through the second part of Rivazza onto the start-finish straight. So at the end of the first lap, a lot of action already. Carson goes over the line in 1st place. Pizka already over 2 seconds back already. By the end of the first lap on Carson, he's got McKinley breathing down his neck. He's having a look up the inside into Tamburello, but not this time. Schmizak coming through behind them. There's a short gap then to Halen, who didn't manage to keep on the back of the Ferrari. Viking Rap, meanwhile, has gone through as well on Beeswax Racing, so not a great start for myself with those championship ambitions, but that's Schmizak massively off the track there. Halen sails through. Viking Rap straight onto the back of Schmizak, who went very deep into the sand off the Villeneuve chicane. A lot of action in the first lap or 2 of this race. Beeswax Racing has a lot to drive for. In 3rd place, McCready's dropped out. So good opportunity if we can get a good result here to get 2nd in the Drivers' Championship, but it is still early doors. But McCready tailing right down the back of the field is in 22nd place now, just ahead of Murphas in the BMW. But he's got a lot of work ahead of him. Karasiak too, currently 4th in the Drivers' Championship, now all the way down in 14th place. But he looks to have got through on Steve Carey already. We can see Steve Carey in the background there. So he's behind Ramshield now, 14th place for Karasiak. Paul Martin for Gently Bentley in 11th place, behind Lord Nem. His 10th place on the track reflected his current 10th place in the championship. So Lord Nem driving to try and stay inside the top 10 at the end of the season. Got Steelco just ahead of him. Meanwhile, Carson has a bit of a clear run now out front, but the gap to Pizka has dropped a little bit now. It's 1.6 seconds. So qualified on pole, dropped into 2nd place on the first lap, but things settling down a little. Looks to have pulled a bit of a gap on McKinley behind, which is unusual. Big slide there from Carson just ahead of Pizka, and that's really allowed Pizka to close the gap up on the Ferrari of Carson. Carson going into this round in 5th place in the Drivers' Championship, but things are so tight all the way up to 2nd that he's got 295 points. McCready's got 311, so currently based on the positions on the road, if Carson can hold on to this, he'll sail through into 2nd place on the championship. McCready will drop right down. But he's under a lot of pressure now from Pizka. And McKinley as well is starting to close up in the back. So Pizka having a little look as they come up towards the very Alta, but no chance of a pass there. It's far too far back. Halen in 4th place, trying to keep it clean and tidy and close the gap. Bit of a queue forming behind. Now Viking Rap has gone through into 5th place. Śmieziak, recovering from that trip into the sand, is in 6th. And it's Beeswax Racing just behind, and then Duque, and then Steelco. So very much the train forming up here behind Viking Rap at this stage of the race. Across the line goes Carson, but with Pizka right on his tail, trying to look around the outside for Tamburello. But he'll do well to go around the outside and make a pass at Tamburello. Got the advantage of the inside line for Carson. And that mistake by Pizka causes him to fall back into the clutches of McKinley. McKinley having a look at the inside for the Villeneuve chicane, but doesn't go through on Pizka. Good chance of rain in this event. Looked like maybe 1 or 2 drops of rain there across the screen, but it's all dry so far. Pizka staying ahead of Carson as they go up towards Peratella. Sometimes you can get a good run out of the Tosa hairpin and try and get up the inside for Peratella, but not this time. Go through Aqua Minerale. Sweep round to the right, up the hill towards the Variante Alta. McKinley still looking for a way past Pietska. Halen in the background trying to close in. Meanwhile, Viking Rap has finally got the elastic snapped on those behind him. Oh, and Pizka goes very, very wide indeed, going through the Variante Alta. He won't get a good run off there. That might give McKinley a bit of a sniff as they go in towards Ravazza, but I think he's too far back. Keep following the leaders here because Pizka's under a lot of pressure. Viking Rap through, and now Beeswax Racing through, and Śmieziak finally got that pass done. Oh, and Śmieziak literally loses it coming out of the Ravazza. Did manage to recover the car, but definitely lost the rear end of the car, and that allowed both Duque and Steelco to go through. Lord Nem trying to have a look at Śmieziak, who's lost a number of places there with that mistake. On the outside for Tamburello for Lord Nem. I don't think he'll get through there, but Śmieziak's well out of position. Now he's on the curbs. Lord Nem keep the throttles pinned. He can't. Śmieziak gets away with it. Instead, Lord Nem's under attack now from Paul Martin and Karaziak, and they're all lining up on Lord Nem. Paul Martin through. Becchia not through, but definitely trying to find a way through. Karaziak ahead of Bramshield in the background. Through Tosa. A lot of action going through those sequence of corners. And we're only on to the 5th lap. Queue forming up now behind Lord Nem, trying to get through. Pizka still stays ahead of McKinley out front, but he's all over the back of him. Halen in no man's land. Viking Rap in no man's land. Beeswax Racing trying to get clear now of Duque. Gap is 1.5 seconds. Steelco right on the back of Duque. Keep track, there's so much going on. McKinley still trying to find a way to attack Pizka as they go through Ravazza again, complete the next lap. Steelco, oh, big collision there. That was Śmieziak into the back of Steelco. That looked like a mistake there from Śmieziak, who's perhaps under pressure to try and recover. So Śmieziak's got through to the front of his queue. He's got Śmieziak, Duque, Paul Martin. It's all change. Śmieziak there is now in 7th. Duque is under attack from his own teammate. Lord Nem in the background. Steelco. Becchia. Karaziak, Ramshield, Steve Carey in the background. Huge queue of cars here. But certainly when we cut to that, Śmieziak just appeared to be battering his way through to the front. To be fair, definitely hit Steelco pretty hard going through Ravazza. Up the hill to go, which now Śmieziak's got a bit of a gap. Still a 4 seconds to Beeswax up the road. And whilst all that was going on behind, something has happened to... Where's he gone? Pietzke's down in 6th now, so Pietzke's had a bit of a mishap there. Has been off the track quite clearly. She's cleared the way for McKinley, so McKinley through into 2nd place. Halen now up to 3rd with a podium position. That'll do his championship hopes some good as well. Halen currently 6th in the championship with 281 points, so definitely in the fight for 2nd place overall. Pietzke trying to recover. Schmizak 3 seconds down the road. Things settling down a little bit behind now. Paul Martin trying to ease away from Duque, who's still pretty close. Steelco behind Duque. Ben Lord Nem now in 11th place. There's been quite a few drivers off the track trying to have a look at the inside. Going into Tamburello, but nowhere near close enough to be able to attack Steelco there. Raziak in the background, kind of a little bit of sand dust there as he just puts a wheel off the track. So race settling down a little bit now. With Pietzke having dropped out of the lead group of 3. McKinley is slowly closing in on Carson. McKinley having to work for once in a race. Not qualifying on the front row and just driving away from the rest of the field in this one. Although Carson and McKinley have now eased the gap of 2.8 seconds over Halen in 3rd place. Viking Rap down in 4th. Well clear of Beeswax Racing. Can confirm that whilst I kind of like the Imola track, I do not appear to be very quick at it. Carson puts a wheel in the sand there. That'll allow McKinley to close just in that little bit more. Is McKinley going to try and make a pass as they go through Tamburello, as they go into lap 7? I'm sure he's close enough there. Not need to outbrake, a couple of car lengths behind. Pietzke now on the back of Beeswax Racing. So Pietzke has got some pace here, but has made a mistake and ended up off the track and he made a couple of mistakes really. He lost that 1st place in Carson early doors and then he's dropped down to 6th. Trying to come back up the field. Raziak, who was in 4th at the start of the race, is now in 10th. Now Lord Nem was in 11th a minute ago, so something else has happened back here. Duque now is down in 19th with Beckia, so I'm not sure if something may have occurred between those two. Acredi, who was 2nd in the Drivers' Championship going into this round, is circulating in 23rd. He may have lost a driver or two, so he won't be too pleased with that. He's definitely dropping out of the order from where he started. Meanwhile, for head of a race, Carson still being pursued by McKinley. Halen dropping back from these two a little bit, I think. Coming under some pressure now from Viking Rat for Halen, who's closed in less than a second on the Aston Martin. Behind these two, Beeswax Racing trying to keep away from Pietzke. The gap is less than half a second. And things are a little bit spread out. Schmizak is now 3 seconds behind these two, just coming into sight in the background there. Paul Martin is 1.2 seconds behind Schmizak. Lord Nem a further 1.3 with Karaziak on his tail. Ramshield in the other Porsche right behind him. Vuščík in the Ferrari trying to have a little look on the outside there. Doesn't seem anywhere near close enough really to make an attack. In front, see where McKinley is. Gap to Viking Rap and Halen still looks substantial. Big slide from the Ferrari of McKinley there. That won't have helped his cause. I need to try and catch Carson. The gap now a second. Pietzke still hanging on to the back of the Ferrari of Beeswax. Lord Nem, Karaziak has got through. Quick driver Karaziak out of position with that incident at the start of the race. Next target will be Paul Martin in the Ferrari. Big head up, down towards Acqua Minerale. No way through here. One line really through Acqua Minerale. But it does cause quite a few people to make a mistake. That can sometimes give you an opportunity. But they go up to Variante Alta. And they're all line astern. You get a really good drive through Acqua Minerale. You can try and get up the inside for Variante Alta. If you get up the inside, the driver on the outside's got no chance of hanging on to that position. They're coming down towards Rivazza, and that's an ambitious move up the inside there. Oh, and... oh no. Krasiak just clobbers the back quarter of Paul Martin, who had no chance there. So that's more positions lost both for Paul Martin and Krasiak. He really can't afford to make mistakes like that. Trying too hard, I think, to get through. And that will result in both of those drivers dropping further back down the field. Promotes Lord Nem. Ramshield back up the field. So out front, things really settling in a little bit. Carson at the moment is 1.4 seconds clear of McKinley, who we saw making that slide as he went into the Villeneuve chicane. And it's allowing Carson to keep that gap up. And Halen capitalising on the mistake by McKinley there. He's closed into 1.5 seconds. Viking Rat did get under a second to Halen, who's responded by moving away. So he'll be trying to close that gap back up. But then there's a definite step change between the top four. Beeswax Racing struggling for pace a little at Imola. Still got Pizka tucked up behind for 5th and 6th. Schmijak just in the background, 3 seconds further behind. 3.8 now actually at the last sector. And then there's a big gap to Lord Nem in 8th. He's got Ramshield for company. Porsche. But is Pizka going to have a little look as they go into Rivazza. Oh, I think he definitely caught the back of the Ferrari there. Getting a bit too close in the McLaren. He's flashing his lights. I'm not sure what that's for. Over the start-finish line into lap 11. Big gap there to go into Tamburello. Ferrari's getting a little tricky to handle. A little bit wide there. Going through Tamburello. Down towards the Villeneuve chicane. Wouldn't not catch too much curb and end up in the sand. Pushing Pizka on the outside for the Tosa hairpin. Best hope there for Pizka is to try and do a switchback, but didn't do it. Up they go, up the hill they go towards Piratella. Still, Pizka's not close enough. 0.3 of a second was the gap at the last sector. Down through Acqua Minerale. Schmijak is starting to close up in the background while these two fight. And the Beeswax Racing has to focus more on defence rather than trying to go forward. Through Variante Alta. A little bit of curb, but that's fine. Out we go. Steals a car length for 2 as we go down towards Rivazza. Rivazza 1. Don't catch any sand off the side, and through Rivazza 2. No contact this time. The McLaren is quite close with a clean run. He's trying to get up alongside. Bit of curve, lose a bit of speed there. He's on the inside for Tamburello. He's ahead. Oh, he's slow. What was that? Pietza came back across the front of the Ferrari. Schmijak jumped through in the background. And Pizka off again. He lost the rear end of the car then as he went through Tamburello 1 and just came back across the track. The Ferrari had nowhere to go. But that mistake's really cost Pizka this time as car after car goes through. There's the chain with Paul Martin. So he's looking like he's down in possibly 17th position. He's got Becchia just behind him. He'll be 15th. Becchia way off there into the sand as he's fighting with the Dennis Downtown. Pizka now drops to 14th place. So just lost control of the car trying to get through Tamburello. Beeswax Racing, I think, got away lightly with that one. Lost 1 place though. Could be a big gap. The gap ahead to the top 4 now for Śmieziak is 11.4 seconds. So everybody outside the top 4 well out of contention on this one. Through Variante Alta. Ramshield now is the Porsche behind. 2.7 second gap to Śmieziak up front. And this is important for Beeswax Racing. Currently 3rd in the Drivers' Championship. Every point counts. So losing positions with an incident is not ideal. Got to try and come back from this. And make sure also the repairs are off if the damage is light. And that looked like Javuštic there just doing what Śmieziak did earlier. Just losing the rear of the Ferrari coming out of Rivazza 2. Went across the track. Opened the door for Steve Carey. Side by side as they go over the start-finish line and up towards Tamburello. The Ferrari and Steve Carey well ahead there before they go into Tamburello, so Javuštic will lose that place to Carey. Ramshield got through on Lord Nem meanwhile. And he's trying to close in on the Beeswax Racing. Ramshield's showing a good turn of speed. Best is a 1:43.647. His last lap was a 1:44.9. Pretty quick around Imola in these conditions. Out front, Carson is now under a lot of pressure from McKinley, who's closed right up on the back of him. Krasiak is now being lapped in the background there. He's having such a poor race. So all hopes of a good championship finish are gone. He's well wide there in the background on Variante Alta. But for 1st and 2nd place, Halen there just coming through our shot. He's in 3rd. McKinley trying to have a look as they go into Rivazza. Carson needs to keep his cool, make sure he doesn't touch the sand. Around Rivazza 2 and over the start-finish line. And it's if McKinley can get a good exit from Rivazza to make a pass into Tamburello. Car coming out of the pits will hopefully stay out of the way. It looks like Duque. And he's going up the inside. McKinley's had a little look at the inside there, but wasn't close enough to make it work. Did he do enough to put Carson off? Come out of the Tamburello complex, and Carson still in front, but the gap's still just 0.2 into the Villeneuve chicane. Up towards Tozer. McKinley not close enough to make an attack. Takes a slightly different line through Tozer, trying to get that overspeed as they go up towards Piratella. He's trying to have a look, but is he close enough? It'd have to be a big outbreaking moment to get through. Looks like he's going for it. Side by side through Piratella and ahead as they come out of Piratella. So McKinley gets it done as they go through to Acqua Minerale. Cleanly flew Acqua Minerale, and he's far enough ahead, I think, for Variante Alta to make that pass stick. Halen now able to close up right to the back of Carson. Carson still on track, having enough points to move ahead of everybody into 2nd place in the Drivers' Championship. And if you were to exclude McKinley, who we've touched on before, has basically won every single round and appears to be misplaced into the wrong tier, really, with the show of pace he's had. That would really make him, in some ways, Carson the tier champion. You could say. Halen, though, is close up behind. McKinley now starting to ease away from Carson. That was 0.1 on the last sector, but already it's 1 second in half a lap. Carson, though, having a look over his shoulder at Halen, who's giving a little push. Viking Wrap isn't too far away from these two. He's got markers in between though. That looks like Duque just ahead of him. Approaching the pit stop window, I guess, for most of the drivers. And it might be worth it to avoid all this traffic. Box in. Śmiziak is in 5th place now. The gap is 10 seconds ahead, so these drivers trying to make a bit of a push. Beeswax Racing start to come under pressure now from Ramshield. For Beeswax Racing, it's really important to try and get as close to Carson as possible. Difference in points, 304 points for Beeswax going into this round, 295 for Carson. So the difference is just 9 points between the two drivers. Every position will count as regards the championship. Ramshield is really tight on the back of the Beeswax Racing car, just as Halen is tight on the back of Carson. Karasiak trying to have another look up the inside. Let's hope we didn't get involved in any more antics. He's down in 19th place now, Karasiak. McCready just behind him. Into the pits goes Viking Wrap. First of the leaders to box. Carson, McKinley and Halen all stay out. Carson getting very defensive. Paul Martin in the background there. Managed to hold off. Big glut of cars now behind these two. Raziek at the head of them. We've got Duque as well. With the pit stops all settling out, and he goes through the sector markers. It is Steve Carey who's ahead by quite some distance, 8 seconds to Karaziak. Then Duque, 0.1 behind. Paul Martin. All these drivers were a lot further up the field earlier on in the race. They all had mishaps of one sort or another. See, McCready is just ahead of Paul Martin, so it's Karaziak, Duque, McCready, Paul Martin. Phil is a little bit further, just behind Paul Martin by 0.8 of a second. Pietzke, qualified on pole, was leading the race early doors, but now all the way down in 21st. Kazurski looks to have packed for this race. He's been in the pits, he's 6 laps down. It looks like a retirement. McKinley, now he's past Carson, is eased away 2 seconds in a couple of laps. It was nearly a second a lap, I think he's taking out of Carson. Halen dives into the pits, leaving the way open for Śmiziak. Is Śmiziak going to pit? No, he's elected to stay out. As has Beeswax Racing with Ramshield for company. A lot of antics in this race has pushed a lot of the drivers a long way down the field. Things will need to settle out after the pit stops, but at the moment the winners have all the craziness as Ramshield, Śmiziak, Beeswax Racing, Lord Nem all appear to have moved a long way up the field. Halen still in the pits. He is a championship threat. Really going into this race in 6th place with 281 points, and if he does finish on the podium, could well push myself, Beeswax Racing, down into 4th championship. Obviously something I'm really worried about, but I'm not sure all of you will care. But down off the jacks, Halen on his way out of the pits. It's a long, slow drag. Get out of the pits at Imola. A long way to the pit exit. Halen rejoins the track, no penalties. Oh no, there is a penalty. Stop go 30. Halen speeding in the pit lane, so the driver in 3rd place just prior to his pit stop will now drop right down to the back of the field. It's quite a closely packed race, so with another stop go 30, that's going to put him right down the back of the pack. So that's another championship hopeful that's dropped out. So Halen, who was in 6th place in the championship, will now definitely not move any further forward, I would have thought, although everybody else is trying to mess up their race. The leaders are in, McKinley is in, Carson is in. Smijak stays out and will temporarily take the lead of a race. We've got Ramshield boxing just in the background, which will ease the pressure on myself, Steve Bezic, for at least a lap or two until it's my turn to box. So everybody boxing. Viking Rap on the back of Halen, but there's really no race there. Halen may as well just let him through because that penalty to serve. Depends how quickly Halen's going to decide to serve that penalty. It looked like Halen was pulling over there. He realises perhaps it's over, but he didn't. Viking Rap still a few car lengths away. Halen probably best served to just duck in the pits straight away. Try and get rid of the pressure from Viking Rap, but entirely his decision. This will promote Viking Rap to third on the road for the moment. No, third net. So Halen does elect to stay out. He's got 3 laps to serve that penalty. He'll have 2 more laps remaining. Smijak out front, now leading the race whilst he waits for his pit stop. Beeswax Racing in second place. Lordnem 5.6 seconds down the road. Steelco, Pietzke there in the between these two drivers. Steelco in fourth. Burks, driver we've not mentioned at all yet, and Aston Martin is now up to fifth. Fortunately for him, I think we may drop back a little bit when everybody emerges from their pit stops. Becchia up to sixth. Saw him coming together with McCready early doors. Becchia definitely not losing out on that incident. He's in sixth now, whilst McCready's all the way down in 17th. Smijak is pitting. You can see the police car of Lord Nem boxing as well. Steelco has stayed out. Beeswax Racing in the pits. Steelco going for the glory shots. Will lead the race at least 1 lap. Onto the Jacks and the crew servicing the Beeswax Racing Ferrari. McKinley comes around. He's into Rivazza. Halen now dropped off. The real only threat to McKinley would be Carson. Who presumably has served his pit stop. It's a long way down, Carson. Viking Rat between him. Has Viking Rat managed to jump Carson? It looks like Viking Rat has managed to jump Carson perhaps in the pits. Carson's a long way down. Could it be an incident of perhaps repairs on, or not a very good pit stop for Carson? The race starting to settle down a little bit. McKinley in 8th. Updated before I was looked away. McKinley up to 5th. Viking Rap 6 seconds behind him. Then Smijak, who's just been in the pits. I think the computer really does need to catch up with itself. Steelco still out on the road in first. Burks, but he also stayed out in second, and Becchia in third. Hunter is a new driver, I think, with the league. Makes it up to 4th for the moment. He's 25 seconds down on Becchia though, so a long way from heart of the action, as it were. McKinley still leading on the road. I think I've seen McKinley boxing, although my memory is not what it used to be. Halen must be in the pits then, serving that penalty. He's now down in 21st, so his race effectively over. All the way down at the back of the field, keeping Pietzke and Dennis Downtown company. Front, Steelco finally boxes. Burks is also in the pits, and Becchia. Hunter still stays out on track, where I would say I think McKinley has boxed, given the time differences to everybody. So McKinley will take the net lead on the road once the computer sorts itself out, and Hunter boxes as well. Viking Rat is now in second place, up to 6.5 seconds behind the leader McKinley and Carson. Oh, what Carson's done to himself. But he's dropped down to third overall. He's nearly 3 seconds behind the Viking Wrap. Just slowly sorting itself out. Smijak now into 6th place. 5th place, sorry. Hunter will drop out, which will promote Smijak to 4th. So Carson in 4th will be net 3rd, and Beeswax Racing currently in net 5th. So this is really, really tight. And maximum ruage of the incident with Pizka early on, because if I can get right behind Carson, points difference wise, I think it would promote me to 2nd in the championship. But I've got to stay ahead of Ramshield, and if buts and maybes, I was ahead of Smijak with the incident that happened with Pizka. So yeah, I'm cursing the day because I would have been directly behind Carson now. What I really wanted was rain as well. Still no change in the weather, fully dry track. And can confirm that from the weather predictions that we saw at the time in the race, no rain is forecast. So all the practice races featured quite a lot of bad weather and rain, in which I excelled. I did very well at, and I was really hoping for some rain to give me a good chance in this race, but it never happened. But it looks like Ramshield is sizing up a pass here on the Ferrari. Looking as they go up the inside, as they go into Tamburello, thought better of it. It is me, Ramshield, you can trust me. I won't kill you. Come out of the Tamburello complex, and he's now trying to get up to the inside for the Villeneuve chicane. Looks to be easily clear. Side by side. Still side by side has come out of the Villeneuve chicane, but there's no way the Ferrari can carry as much speed as the Porsche on the better line. Into Tosa hairpin, and unfortunately for Beeswax Racing, Ramshield then moves into 6th place, pushing the Ferrari down into 7th. Lord then, just in the background there, is further 5 seconds down the road. And there's not that long left in this race now. So all Beeswax Racing really needs to focus on is keeping the pace up, trying to keep the gap to Lord Nem behind stable. Steve Carey trying to have a look at the back of the Beeswax Racing team car. Steve Carey driving for Celtic Bromance. But with McKinley having sort of sewn up nearly all the race wins in this tier, team's championship between Celtic Bromance and everybody else is pretty much a one-sided affair. Raziak there in the background has managed to recover to 10th, which is pretty impressive really, considering he was right at the back of the field at one point. Raziak moving back through the field. I don't think it'll be enough to rescue his championship situation, not with myself and Carson a lot further up the road. McCready, as we know, has dropped right down. He's down in 14th place and currently covering off the track just as we cut to him. Beckier has also got a stop-go 30. So Beckier was not in the Drivers' Champion as such, but just clearing that. So that's put him down at 21st. Halen now 20th, with these penalties piling up for other drivers. Pizka is in 19th. Ivushchek trying to close in on Paul Martin. Has a look down the outside as they go in towards Tamburello. Paul Martin's got the advantage of the inside line. Oh dear, that's a massive impact for Paul Martin after Ivushchek turned into him. Or was it a coming together? Was it a racing incident? Either way, the bad race that both of these drivers were having has got a lot worse. There'll be big damage for both of those cars as a result of that. Well, we just caught that incident then. And not one to apportion blame. It looked like they both came together. And well, they both ended up in the wall. So it didn't end up well for either of the drivers. Even further down the field for them and less points. So Gently Bentley there. Paul Martin and Manuel Duque down in 13th. Paul Martin at least 19th, if not further behind. I mean, they're picking up not many points this round. Meanwhile, Beeswax Racing are 7th and 8th currently. Will be collecting a big haul of points. So that looks to have firmed up second place in the championship for Beeswax. Gently Bentley securing third. Amino Assetto Motor Hirschsteller, Furkan Hosman and Becca Ares. I've not seen either of those drivers really in this race. So that will really tie that down for the top 3 for the Teams Championships. Looks pretty solid at this moment, with Celtic Bromance in first, Beeswax Racing in second, and Gently Bentley in third place. Out front, McKinley doing his usual, just driving away on his own. He's now pulled out a lead of 5.7 seconds on Viking Rat. Carson unable to close that gap on Viking Rat. Don't know what happened in the pit stops, but came out a long way down and is now looked firmly locked into third place. The gap 4 seconds now to Viking Rat, who's pushing hard as he can. Schmijak is 7 seconds behind. So we have slowly closed in really on the lead cars. The gap was 11 seconds at one point, and we've all sort of moved together forward, both myself, Ramshield and Beeswax. But Ramshield is gone through on the Beeswax Ferrari and has slowly moved away and is closing in relentlessly on Schmijak. He's 2.8 seconds clear of the Beeswax Racing Ferrari 833. Ramshield now only 3 seconds behind Schmijak before the end of a race. And really this race has settled down a lot now. The gaps are reasonably large between each one of the cars. Lord Nem in 7th place is 5.4 seconds behind the Beeswax Racing 833 Ferrari of his teammate Krasiak. He's come back to 8th. He had a slightly erratic race though. He's been off the track a lot and involved in 1 or 2 incidents we saw. Steve Carey has been passed by Krasiak and is a further 3 seconds behind. So it's 5 seconds behind Lord Nem for Steve Carey. So I don't know if he's had another exciting adventure off the track. Steelco 1.8 seconds behind Steve Carey. Burks in 11th place was 11 seconds behind Steelco. Quite a gap. Can't see anybody from 11th downwards unless there's an incident affecting the drivers ahead getting involved in the top 10. Duque then in 12th. But Gently Bentley. Phil is in 13th. Dennis Downtown in the BMW is in 14th. And McCready, who went into this race probably with high hopes with second place in the Drivers' Championship, has had those hopes dashed. He's down in 15th. Struggled a little bit at Imola and did get involved in that incident with Becky at early doors. Yavushchek, we just saw going into the wall with Paul Martin. And perhaps, I'm thinking back to the incident at Snetterton. He needs to think about when he turns in on cars ahead of him, because he had a look back at the Snetterton incident with me when I was passing him going underneath the bridge into the left and right hander at the end of the back straight, and I was well past really. I turned into a rear quarter of my car and just clipped it. He came off a lot worse on that one, but again that was turning in another car when the position really wasn't there for the taking. And I think on the one with Paul Martin had the inside and the better track position really for Tamburello. Yavushchik tried to keep in there and it cost him dear in the end. Cost them both dear. Hitzka is down in 17th. Qualified on pole, but slowly dropped down a couple of incidents and dropped down the field. Halen got that stop-go 30 and he's now down in 18th. That ruined his race. Hunter, we've not seen too much of. I believe he's a new driver to the tier, so hopefully he's finding his adventure fun. Beckia down in 20th, also got a stop-go 30. Paul Martin probably struggling with a lot of damage. It's a very, very heavy hit into the wall. He's running last because Kazurski has retired to the pits. Well, Paul Martin catching going through Variante Alta. He's just easing that lead up further and further. 6 seconds now of a Viking Rat. Carson 5 seconds behind, but Ramshield is catching Schmijak. Closest battle on track, I think. Oh, Krasiak's on Lord Nem as well in the background. It's a case of who's going to, which one of these is going to deliver the most activity. And there you go. Oh, well, of Krasiak's day summed up perhaps. Tried to do the pass on the inside of Ariante Alta, caught too much curb. I just went straight off the track. Lord Nem said, thank you very much, I'll carry on my way. Steelco trying to catch Steve Carey in the background. And the next big battle is going to be Ramshiel on Schmijak. There's a lot of off track there, and that really seemed to throw the Ferrari off there. Schmijak, big mistake, got a lot of the grass, lost a lot of momentum, and Ramshiel pounces straight away. We saw the dust being kicked up as he put the right hand side of his car off the track, Schmijak. And that's even, I think even the Beeswax Racing Ferrari starting to close in on Schmijak there. Ramshiel straight through with that great opportunity that was presented to him. Big mistake by Schmijak. So into 4th place goes Ramshield. Schmijak down to 5th. And Beeswax Racing, the 833 Ferrari, will definitely be thinking about the fact that we can catch Carson, keep that points deficit to a minimum. May well get 2nd place in the championship. So everything to race for the Beeswax Racing Ferrari. Steelco now is closed right back up onto the back of Steve Carey. Piratella and down into Aqua Minerale. Not close enough though. You try and get a good exit from Aqua Minerale. Maybe close up before the Variante Alta. Lord Nem will be glancing in his mirrors now, seeing these two behind him, getting a little bit closer. Both clatter over the curbs quite heavily, but they're out safely and going down towards the Rivazza. Careful to avoid going too much into the sand, which would lose a lot of speed. Over the start-finish line. Hard to tell from these angles. Don't think Steelco has got a run at Steve Carey there. No, the gap's too big. And behind, UK coming under a little pressure from Phil. Creedy coming under some pressure from Javushchik, which is may concern him if he's aware of what happened to Paul Martin. Steelco and Steve Carey through the Villeneuve chicane and up towards Tosa. Phil are just coming up towards the same point. Javushchik is getting a run at McCready. Trying to get up the inside. Are they going to be able to stay apart from each other? No, they're not. So McCready, I think, turned in that time. As Javushchik was up alongside. His head must be down. McCready facing a bit of a depressing day, really. Seeing that championship slip away from him. Wasn't a great position in 2nd place. So Javushchik went through, and I think this time he was pretty much driven into it, seen to from that angle. McCready started to turn in for the Villeneuve chicane without acknowledging the Ferrari was on the inside. Meanwhile, Lord Nem appears to have made a bit of a boo-boo because Steve Carey is right on his bumper with Steelco for company. You need to turn on that message board in your back window that says "Follow me, Lord Nem," and they'll think they're in trouble and we need to follow you all the way around the track to the pits to receive a ticket. It's 3 of them all going up together towards Tamburello. None of them look too close yet to make a pass, but Steve Carey's getting closer and closer to Lord Nem. Maybe Steelco is hoping to pick up the pieces. Out front, the lead for Kinley is now 7.7 seconds, so he's continuing to drive away from the rest of the field, which is pretty much normal for every race so far this season. Now Steve Carey's under pressure from Steelco. Steve Carey's dropped away from the back of the BMW and has fallen towards Steelco, who's in his mirrors, trying the left and trying the right. Not close enough to make an attack in Piratella, and that probably means there'll be nose to tail through Aqua Minerale. If you can try and get a good exit from Aqua Minerale, you can maybe have a look at the Variante Alta. It looks like they've all got through there too cleanly, really, to make that happen. Lord Nem just needs to remain focused and not let the fact that these two are close behind him make him flap in any way. Any little mistake and one of them will be through. So they go. And there'll be an exit from here and the start-finish straight that will really be telling if anybody's going to be able to get a pass into Tamburello. As yet there in the background, now back in 10th place. Nobody's close enough to make a pass there. Meanwhile, up front, Beeswax Racing slowly but surely trying to close in on Śmierzak. Steve Carey, though, is the filling in the sandwich, a Lord Nem and Steelco sandwich. With the Villeneuve chicane. Oh, Steelco gets really close to Carey there when they go through. Whenever they go through there. So have a look at the inside. He's thrown it in there. That looked fair enough to me, but maybe Steelco didn't think so. He's given the place back to Steve Carey. It was a bit of a coming together, but it was a good bit of outbreaking by Steelco. I think maybe Steve Carey was perhaps just caught by surprise that he was there. But they've gone back to where they were. So Steelco definitely avoids any trouble with the stewards. But for my money, Steelco, I think that was okay. Especially as it was on Steve Carey. More than allowed. Well, that has eased the gaps out a little bit now on these three. Starting to get close to the end of the race though, I think now. McKinley is on his 29th lap. His best lap being on 42.6. Bearing in mind we saw mostly 44s, I think, from other drivers. Makes a little mistake there in the Villeneuve chicane, but he's got more than enough of a gap behind as we see Viking Wrap. He's only just approaching the Villeneuve chicane now. And yeah, the gap ahead now, McKinley for 12.8 seconds. Continues to pull out nearly a second a lap. Carson tucked into third place. At the moment, there'll be more than enough points for him, I think, to get second place in the Drivers' Championship. Beeswax Racing unable to make an impression. Ramshield's got, I think, got too much to do. 6-second gap now. Easily past Śmierzak he was, and 4 seconds up the road from him already. 4.5 seconds on Śmierzak. Beeswax has closed in to 1.8 seconds. But I think Śmierzak has responded to the threat. The gap behind now, Lord Nem, 12 seconds. Got Steve Carey again for company, and Steelco has dropped off a little bit, 2 seconds down the road. Lord Nem just needs to keep his focus. At 7th place. His championship position a little more difficult to understand. He's in 10th at the moment with 189 points. But, they only really look at the top 10, so I'm not sure who behind him may be a threat. But as long as he just focuses on trying to get as far up the field as possible, that's all he can do. Steve Carey continues to look, but nowhere near close enough to make an attack. This is definitely the tightest battle on track at the moment. That lead for McKinley, as we said, is over 12 seconds. It's hovering at 2 seconds for Carson in third place behind Steve Carey. Ramshield's pushing hard. It's now 5.3 seconds is the gap between himself and Carson ahead. The elastic is bouncing between Śmierzak and Beeswax Racing. Gap's gone up to 2.5 seconds. Going through Aqua Minerale. Steelco, I think, may have given up a little bit. But he shouldn't lose heart, because look how much curb Steve Carey took then. That will have slowed him down. He's definitely fallen away a little after he did that attack into Toza, where he gave the place back afterwards. Looks like Steve Carey's head may have dropped a little, isn't it? Gap's now a second. And Lord Nem, I think we are running out of laps. McKinley comes out of Rivazza 2 over the start-finish line. Are we going to see any fireworks? Checkered flag. Not this time round. One more lap to go at least. Cars are looking a bit small today, Imola. But all the gaps up and down the field now really opening up. I know it's that 12 seconds because Vacuum Wrap's only just passing the start-finish line now. Carson closed in to less than a second. Ramshield in 4th place. He's just still too far away. But has made huge inroads into Schmijak since he passed him. It's like also Beeswax Racing has kind of settled for 6. Beckier, who's at least a lap down the company. Come towards the end of a race in the 32nd lap we are now. Piratella down the hill towards Acqua Minerelli. Up the hill, they've already into Alta. I suspect this may be for the last time now. And for once, this was, you could say this was something of a little bit of a test for Kinley. He didn't get past Carson until about halfway through the race, but since then he's just driven away again from the front of the pack. Got a gap of over 12 seconds to his nearest rival. And McKinley will take another win, I think, here. And that makes basically almost a clean sweep. I think he's at a 2nd place or 4th place. He would have won at Snetterton if not for a disconnect, but he was miles in front there. And it's just been a bit too easy. No real competition. I think he's going around for another lap though. He's pushing. But it's not what we aim for, I think, in league racing, is for one driver to do Verstappen, if you like, and just be 20-30 seconds down the road every single race. There are higher tiers, people with faster pace. So there are discussions, I believe, about how the placement system works and how the hot stints fit into that system, because it's as we've touched on it previously, I think it's been subject to a little bit of abuse this time round, and there was a very quick reversal of pace between hot stints and the start of the season, resulting in one driver just moving away from everybody and every race, every round, and making a bit of a clean sweep of things, which is a bit of a turn off for everybody else involved in it, because you feel you haven't got much of a chance to compete really. The gap now is 13.8 seconds over Viking Rat as he comes around to finish his final lap. Steel Co has managed to close back up on Steve Carey, but he's running out of time as McKinley goes into Rivazza 2 and comes out probably to take the line for the final time. Not seeing a checkered flag though. How long are we going to keep this going for? He's still going for another lap, crikey. Steel Co does have a chance. Steel Co push. Must be the last lap. UK's closed up on Dennis Downtown. Not many other battles though. Viking Rat possibly has let his head drop. Gap now 14.5 seconds to McKinley out front. Who's climbing up the hill towards Paratella. Steel Co, I think, just isn't close enough being able to attack. He's got Karasiak closing in on the back of him. He's definitely got pace. But, couldn't keep it on the track for this one. Gambarello towards the Villeneuve chicane. And no attack coming here, I don't think. Nowhere near close enough. Pushing so hard, goes a little bit wide, catches a bit of sand. That'll lose a little bit of momentum. Won't be anywhere near close enough for Toza. Meanwhile, McKinley's through variant Alta and going down towards Ravazza. Exits Ravazza 2. He's eased off. The gap to Viking Rap has gone back down to 13 seconds. And there is the checkered flag. That took a long time to come. So another easy win for McKinley there, really. Only had a slight challenge at the start of the race. Viking Rap eventually will cross the line in second place. That's how big the gap was, with Carson right behind him. So let's have a look at the official race results and see how the drivers and teams championships really finish out. So let's have a look at the official race results. McKinley came across the line for Celtic Bromance in first place. Viking Rap for Fuzzy Llamas in second. A good haul of points once for that team. Simon Carson in third. Bolf Ramshield in fourth. Philip Schmijak in fifth. Myself, Steve Bezic for Beeswax Racing in sixth. Lord Nem for Beeswax Racing in seventh. Steve Carey, the other Celtic Bromance driver, was in eighth. Steelco ninth. And Mercedes Karaziak in 10th. Looking a bit further down the field at the other teams' finishers. Amal Duque for Gently Bentley Racing was 14th. Stuart Pietzke for Fuzzy Llamas was 16th in the end, having qualified on pole and had a number of incidents during the race. Paul Martin for Gently Bentley Racing finished 21st. And Furkan Hosman for Amino Assetto Motorhersteller was a non-finisher. What does that do for the Drivers' Championship? Well, McKinley had it sewn up a number of races ago. That makes it now 4 outright victories. There was also a victory at Snetterton he was going to get if it wasn't for a disconnect. He got second place in round 1 in Valencia. And really, if you discount Snetterton, which was outside influence really, his poorest result this season was going to be 4th. So it's been mentioned on a few of the commentary videos now. McKinley just seems to be in the wrong tier. Such a sweeping level of victory doesn't really create a lot of competition for everybody else. So you might look on Simon Carson really as having topped the tier if you remove McKinley. So well done to Carson for getting second place there. In the last round, that third place finish gave him 374 points. 11 points clear of me in the end. Steve Bezic for Beeswax Racing, myself managing to get to third overall. If I'd not had that bit of a fiasco in Valencia, who knows what would have happened, but it looks like something similar happened to Carson. He was 18th in Valencia as well. So I'm in third place. I think that's mainly due to turning up. McCready, who had that difficult start, got punted and turned around. He finishes 4th in the end in the championship. Karaziak, who also had a very difficult race, managed to recover to 10th, but that means he slipped down 1 place to 5th in the championship. Halen hangs on to 6th. No movement from last week's position. Paul Martin for Gently Bentley Racing moved up 1 place into 7th. Artem Reshodko didn't race the final 3 rounds, so he slipped all the way down into 8th. Bolf Ramshield moved up 4 places with that really good result of 4th place today. Gives him 9th in the championship. And Lord Nem did manage to hang on with that 7th place today. Meant he held on to 10th place in the Drivers' Championship for Beeswax Racing. Teams Championship, no movement at the top of the table. Celtic Bromance a long way ahead really, 186 points clear of Beeswax Racing in second place, myself, Steve Bezic and Lord Nem. Gently Bentley Racing, Paul Martin and Manuel Duque didn't have a good race today and couldn't do enough to get past Beeswax Racing. They finish in 3rd. Fuzzy Llamas, that really good result for Viking Rap with Stuart Pietzke struggling a little before the end of a race, means they've moved up to 4th in the Teams Championship. We saw Furkan Hosman had retired from the race, so Amino Assetto Motorhersteller couldn't do anything really to hold back Fuzzy Llamas. They slipped down to 5th. Manuel Rota Racing Academy, Reuter and Kalmold, they've not really raced in our team much at all. Did manage to bag enough points in the early rounds to end up 6th. And Hexagon Nation, Chris Jenkins and Tobias Harkinson were very patchy in their appearances. They round out the Teams Championship in 7th position. So that's it for Season 13. Let's hope for Season 14 that people who sandbag in the hot stints can be eliminated a little bit earlier on. and leave the championship open for a slight bit of competition, because that's what we like to see. We had some good racing at Snetterton at the end of the race when there was just a few seconds separating from first to fifth, I think it was. So let's have a look forward to season 14. There may well be a filler league in between, which I'm likely to live stream rather than do a full commentary on. But we'll see you hopefully for the next season, and hopefully we'll enjoy some good racing. Thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed these fully commentated races. I always find it interesting to go back and look at how the race actually evolved, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheerio!